Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Shanghai International Circuit, then, is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience. The flats, open to the elements location, test their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Piastri, Verstappen, Yuki Tsunoda and Hamilton, Russell, Lawson, Bortoletto and Fernando Alonso, Jackson, Albon, Carlos Sainz and Lee, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Ollie Behrman and Pierre Gasly, Hadjar, Stroll, Antonelli and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint. And alongside me today, former Formula One driver and former world champion too. See, told you I'll give you a big intro. Anthony Davidson, hello. Well, they say that a change is as good as a rest, and whilst there's not much rest on show in the sprint format today, there's definitely a change to what we're usually seeing on the track. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
DRS now enabled. DRS enabled. Tyre condition still looking good. Keep on him, he might make a mistake. And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Yeah, good day out, almost great. Nice job, everyone.
It's time again then for Formula One in Shanghai. Northwest of the thriving city of over 24 million people is a circuit that first featured in the championship calendar back in 2004. It played host to Formula One's 1000th Grand Prix back in 2019. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before we head into the braking zone of turn 14. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Verstappen, George Russell and Jackson, Ocon, Piastri, Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly, Sainz, Tsunoda, Liam Lawson and Bortoletto, Antonelli, Hadjar, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, Albon, Behrman, Lee and Jack Doohan rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend. Anthony Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Now use DRS. DRS now available. Try to get past as soon as possible. I know these conditions are tough, but bear with it. I don't think the track's ready for intermediates yet. Strategy says time to box. Copy that. been a bit of a problem removing the left front wheel. We need to try and put that behind us though and finish the race strong. Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound. Okay, the stewards have now disabled DRS. DRS is now disabled. Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 19.0 seconds. Gap to your teammate behind, 22.0 seconds. But we're probably not a million miles away from slick conditions. It looks like we're running on a dry track soon. Back to dry shortly. got dangerously high levels of tyre wear now. Consider boxing or just nurse them home until the end. Okay, off we go, back into the race. Perfect hits. That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up, well done. Come on, you can win that place back. Final lap, push, push. Absolutely awesome. Just amazing, mate. Well done.
Get in there, lads! Come on! That's what we needed.
And across the line he goes to take the checkered flag and maximum points. Victory for Aiden Jackson.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits.